That's great. So you can see there who I am and what we're going to be talking about. As I said, I'm Dean. I'm Head of Giving and Development at the Community Foundation. My background, as I've mentioned already, I've worked for Mercedes for a good period of time. And then in the last 10 years, I've been working in development, predominantly in the education sector, and then more recently in the last 2.5 years for the Community Foundation. Next slide, please. For those of you that aren't aware, and I think most of you are, so I won't dwell on this too much. Obviously, we're a grant giving organisation. We've been around for 24 years, and in that time, we've given over £24 million in funding to groups and communities in greatest need who benefit most from grant making support. And in today's session, we're going to explore how networking really drives donor engagement. Next slide. So the key thing about networking is that it builds trust and it provides an organization with visibility and real human connection. I know, David, you'll be on board with this, is that we aren't just charities doing good for groups. We're people, and people invest in people. It's really important that when we're conveying our stories and giving out our messages, that they understand that it's people-led, and that people are the things that drive the causes and generate the support and make things happen. All of you work for organizations where people make things happen. And so, most importantly, fundraising and networking is about building those really key relationships with our communities. Next slide, please. So, for Northamptonshire Community Foundation, I do make it a point of regularly going out and meeting with existing businesses, partners, professionals, and I do that in a number of different ways. I go out to as many of the networking events that happen across the county as I can without it overtaking my work, and sort of I want to make sure that the balance is right so that in any week I've actually got time to follow up on some of the connections I've made to ensure that we're looking after the donors that are already supporting us. But where possible, I aim to get out to a networking event at least once a week. And I do that right across the county. And I've listed some of the organisations, events, and businesses that I work with. So we're members of Northamptonshire Chamber of Commerce. We attend Business Buzz networking events. We support the Rolleston solicitors networking events, Wilson Brown networking events, Horson's accountants events, Franklin solicitors and Howes Percival events. And selectively, we also attend BNI events, which you may have heard of before. We attend and support events at Northampton Saints, Cobblers, and the County Cricket Club. And we also attend exhibitions and events that are run by NPulse, the Royal and Derngate, Delapree Abbey, and we also support the Food and Drink Awards. And you can see that good networking does actually lead in the end to donations, and that's in the end what it's really about for us, is about awareness, driving awareness, building relationships, building trust that then lead to organizations wanting to get behind and support the work we do. So in that top right hand corner, you'll see that very recently, I think in the last month, I attended the Wilson Brown networking event, and we had a check handover from Wilson Brown to support our Warm This Winter appeal, which came to an end at the end of spring. Next slide, please. So just to give you a real life example, most of you will be aware of a fantastic credit union called ComSave, who are very active in their community, not just in supporting community in terms of their own expertise and their own services, but also in terms of supporting the third sector and charitable organisations that exist across the county. In fact, many of you will have had some support, I imagine, from ComSave previously. But just as an example of how networking can be beneficial, I met with the CEO at the Cinch Stadium as part of the Business Expo a couple of years ago. We had a conversation over breakfast. Literally hadn't spoken or seen or met with the CEO previously. That led to me suggesting that they head over and speak to Katie at our stand at the expo. Katie did a great job of repeating some of the things that I'd already mentioned and sort of reinforcing some of the stories that I'd been telling that individual. That led to a meeting, which then led to ComSave becoming corporate giving network partners. And last week, we had our first corporate giving network event, and there was representation from ComSave. And that just came from that one opportunity to have a conversation at breakfast at a business expo. And I've got other examples, but that's just one of them. Next slide, please.
I think I missed one slide. So do you want me to just go back
Yeah,
to the?
you can go back. Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Thank you, Andy.
That's all right. Oh no,
Oh yeah,
it's
we've seen
fine.
that one. Yeah, that's okay. And then
There we go.
and the next one. So the key thing, and I think just knowing what I know about Jake, who's with us from Hope, I think Jake, you'll definitely agree with this. Is it's about building relationships, and you talked about not being too salesy, and I think that's really important. I think it's really key that we have conversations with people, that we're inquisitive, and we care about the people we're speaking to enough to want to know something about them. It's not about us actually when we're out networking. It's about the people we're speaking to. I always make it a point, and hopefully that was reflected in the way we started this this event, this meeting, is to understand what it is that you as an audience want to get from a session like this, or from networking generally. Why are you here? What are you looking forward to? Um, you know, tell me a bit about yourself. Those nice, really open questions. Show a real interest in the person and their business, because in the end, that individual is very likely to be there for themselves and to drive their own business and generate new customers, new leads, um, drive the success of their business. So they're not necessarily there to find out about Northamptonshire Community Foundation. They're probably more interested in us finding out about them, and it's having a really clear understanding of that from the outset, so that you're not kind of, as Jake alluded to, sort of being too salesy and putting people off before you've even started. So very key not to make immediate asks, but instead get an understanding of the individuals and their values and the values of their organization, because that individual in that organization may not be a natural fit for you. They may be a better fit for another organization, another charity, another cause, or another business, or another partnership. So those are really important things. In the example above, I've put in the images above, I put the Kettering Business Network, and the Business Buzz Network. And the reason we're attracted to Business Buzz is it gives you the freedom to come and go as you please. You can go to a Kettering networking event, or a Daventry networking event, or a Corby networking event, and not have to return for maybe another 2 or 3 months. And it's quite nice to have that flexibility, but also to make sure that you do go back to those places, and ensure that you're following up in terms of the relationship building side of of the rationale for going networking in the first place. Next slide, please. I'm really conscious of time. I'm going to have to speed myself up. I would also suggest, and Katie's really good at this, when we go out to networking events, more often than not, you're sent a list of the attendees in advance. It will include a name, the business, maybe some contact details, an opportunity to engage with individuals before you actually land at the destination of the networking event. So you might want to connect with people via LinkedIn. You might just want to do some research to see whether those organizations or individuals have done any charity work previously, or fundraised for any particular causes, or have a charity of the year in any one year. So that research is really useful and worthwhile. I would strongly recommend against just turning up to events without knowing who your audience is, because you're saving yourself time. It means that you can be more direct in your approach with people, and perhaps if there are people that you don't need to speak to, or you've become familiar with, know very well, then you're more inclined then to go to those that you perhaps haven't met before. And it's really key to come to those events with stories to talk about the impact of the work, rather than talking about what you want from individuals. How does your organization make a difference to people's lives? I think that's what really tugs on the heartstrings and gets people engaged. And I mentioned LinkedIn. I'd really recommend that when you do meet people, if you aren't on social media and aren't link on LinkedIn already, that it's a really good way of engaging with the business community in particular, and it enables you to follow up effectively with a large group of people at any one time. But again, just retaining that line Jake talked about being too salesy, being mindful about not being too salesy, even in your approach on LinkedIn. And wherever possible, when you are meeting people at these events, make sure you keep track of your interactions. The personal, the kind of the nuance information is really key. I spoke to such and such a person and they really like dogs, or I spoke to such and such a person and they really like Ed Sheeran, or whatever it might be, because those details are the really key bits of information about that person as an individual, what they're really interested in, where their values are. And if you can remember information like that, and then when you go back to those individuals, whilst it might sound strategic and say, oh, did you go to that concert in the end? Or how's your dog getting on? Those little personal interactions really do make a difference because it shows that you really care. And I know I'm preaching to the converted on that, because I know, looking around the room, that you're all people, and you'll probably do a lot of that as a matter of course anyway. Next slide, please. And I mentioned LinkedIn, and I've just put an example on here. That was an event that I attended as a result of an introduction from Yvette Whitcomb at Northampton College. She said, "There's an event happening, and I think you'll be a really good fit for it. Would you like me to introduce you to the organizer, Jim Wright?" And I said, "Yeah, definitely." So she did. Went along to the event. The Lord Lieutenant was there, and he was sort of host for the event and giving a speech and that sort of thing. And then immediately afterwards, I posted about the event. I thanked Yvette for introducing me. I also thanked Jim for hosting the event, and name checked a few of the people I met. And it got a lot. It resonated with a broader section of the community, and it helped build my following. And now I'll be invited along to that event in the future. And it's important to see this as a journey. It's not a destination. It's about the building those relationships up as you go, and making those friendships, I think, rather than just seeing it as encounters. You're trying to make friends along the way, and it has to be authentic and genuine when you're doing that as well. Next slide, please. And I'm going to have to draw to a close because I'm conscious about Katie needing to do her bit of a presentation as well. Navigating networking challenges. One of the key things you'll find as charities going out to these networking events is that there are lots of other charities in the room. And so you have to imagine that there are lots of businesses there to do business. And everywhere they turn, they're meeting another charity representative asking for something. And it's really important to be mindful of that, because donor fatigue is a real thing. There are plenty of people out there that are giving and doing things regularly for organizations and charities. So asking questions about how you engage with the charitable sector, or how those businesses engage with the charitable sector, is really important, so that you're not overdoing it or making them feel like, do you know what, I've come here to do business. All I've done is speak to 10 charities about all the things that they need. I think it's just being really mindful about that. It's really important. And I think you will stand out by listening and being genuinely interested. So really focus on the relationships before the fundraising. Next slide, please. And another way that you can, and I think this was touched upon by I think it was Chris mentioned about hosting events. Um, there is an opportunity to raise your profile by actually being the host for a networking event and partnering with organizations that already have a profile, either in the community or more broadly nationally. We've got a webinar happening next week with a charity commission, which is a really good profile boosting opportunity for us and gives us a degree of credibility. And it will act as a magnet and draw people to not just what you're there to talk about, but also the wider causes that the charity commission will be talking about. And as I said, it will boost your credibility, audience crossover, and it will enhance trust in terms of the relationships that you have with those organizations. Next slide, please. My final thoughts on networking, and I know this is a real whistle-stop tour, so apologies, but I would say that networking should become part of your weekly, monthly kind of pattern in terms of the work that you do. because you can't just expect to go along to a networking event and everything will just naturally fall into place. You have to really work on those relationships. The people that organize those networking events and attend those networking events like to see people again. They don't just want to see you once and then think, oh, so I met Dean, I'm going to give him £100. It just doesn't work like that. You have to work at these things. Relationships need a lot of investment. And make sure that when you are going out to networking events that they align in some way with your fundraising goals. If you've got a particular appeal, make sure you put yourself in the room with people that are likely or more likely to be interested in that. And my final note to you would be to think of a connection that you want to nurture and think about what your next step might be in relation to that when you are networking. What sort of next event should you go to, or could you set up and arrange and invite people to that will help you make that next step in your fundraising or relationship building or stewardship journey? And I'm going to finish there because I've gone over time by 2 minutes. And I'm going to move straight on to introducing you to Katie, who's going to talk about stewardship. And then if you could hold back any questions you might have about networking until the end when Katie's finished her stewardship presentation. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening. Over to you, Katie.
Brilliant, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? I've been having microphone issues, which is handy on a day like today. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. So my name's Katie, I'm Donor Relationships Officer. I've been at the foundation for just over 3 years now. As I'm sure you're aware, we're an independent philanthropic grant maker, 25 next year. I just wanted to touch upon the fact that we're a team of 9, an amazing team of 9. We're really, really lucky. We all lean on each other no end, and we are really, really lucky. But a lot of people are surprised by the size of our foundation. Next slide, please, Sandy. Gosh, I've never said this before. It's exciting. Okay, so importance of relationships. I'm sure, as you already know, it's all about getting to know your donors. As Dean touched upon, we really do go out of our way to get to know our donors. I'm sure you'll appreciate some donors are hands-on. They want to know everything. They want regular impact reporting, fair enough, and all of the other things that come with that. And others just are not bothered one bit. They've, you know, they'll let you crack on. So we deal with an array of donors. We're lucky. We've got a huge donor base of individuals, philanthropists, corporate and businesses. But it's really important, as Dean mentioned, to get to know your donor base, especially if you are going out networking. What I first found working in the donor development team is some donors really, really aren't interested. They'd only want CEO interaction, which is absolutely normal and fine. Please don't take it personally if a donor doesn't want to talk to you. It's not that deep. Next slide, please, Sandy. So what does good stewardship really, really mean? I've got to admit, when I first started at the foundation, you know, we'd send out thank you letters and things like that. But it's so much more than that. Like I touched upon, it's all about impact reporting. Our grants team are incredible, and they obviously support with this. You've always got to listen. It's all very well waffling on, and I'm guilty of it, probably doing it now, but it's so important to listen to your donors, your donor base. Like Dean mentioned, I'm all about dogs. So a lot of our donors, they have children, dogs, and it's really important. And it actually goes a long way when you remember these little details. One of our donors has got a dog called Sally, and she's incredible. Regular check-ins and one-to-ones. We always offer this. I always try my best to try and lock down one-to-ones with our donors. It's really important just to check in. It's just nice to know that you're not taking them for granted. And again, any opportunity to have a chin wag and a coffee is all good with me. We do host quite a lot of events. A lot of our events, some of our donors wouldn't feel comfortable at. You have to really, it all goes back to knowing your donor base and where's appropriate to invite people and where isn't. Next slide, please, Sandy. It's all about team. As I've mentioned, we're really lucky. We've got an excellent team, but it's stewardship. It really is everybody's job. all of us, we all promote the foundation accordingly, and you know, it is a collaborative effort, really. Do lean in. I know there's quite a few charities here today, so do lean into your trustee base. Just be cheeky. Ask for introductions and possible one-to-ones, referrals. Just ask. It's all about the asking. So CRM systems, it sounds really, and it's really not that. It's just basically finding a way that works for you. We always log on just on Outlook and things like that. Various anniversaries for donors when they first started. It's really important, again, just to touch base with them and let them know that you're appreciative and you're not taking them for granted. Next slide, please, Sandy. So useful tips, always bang on about gift aid. Yeah, just really drum into your donor base the importance of gift aid. It's so easy to sign up for, and it really goes a long way. It just helps you to plan into the future, and you can relay this to your donor base too. You've always got to celebrate and highlight the important things that you're doing. Do lots of showing off, and just let your donor base and any new donors know exactly what you're up to. Share all your stories about how donations are making a real difference. It just comes back to that impact reporting. With new donors, it's just ideal, really, just to ensure that you can build that trust and showcase to everyone exactly what you're doing. Finally, unfortunately, we was reading the CAF report recently, and only 50% of the population in the UK donated to charity. That includes volunteering, and I was shocked that our fellow Gen Zs and Gen Xs, unfortunately, they're just not engaged in giving as much. Only it was all the over 65s. Well, no, it wasn't all over 65s, but I was quite shocked to see how young people aren't as engaged as I thought. So I guess, yeah, it's an action for us just to think about ways to encourage young people to be involved and support your organisation. We need to really tap into what they care about, you know, climate action, various things, but it's about time we really need to sort of tap into the young donor base and see what it's all about. Next slide, please. I think that's it from me. So yeah, just takeaways. Questions that I think we should ask ourselves are we overdoing it? Are we over communicating and getting on people's nerves? Or are we under communicating or under connecting? I know time is of the essence with you guys because, you know, it's stretched. But if you get time, try and conduct a donor survey. You could perhaps just do a little doodle poll or something. Just keep it simple and straightforward. Ask yourself, what do your donors really, really want? Do they want regular newsletters on email? Do they want them posting? Map your own stewardship journey. It's really important to see how far you're coming along. Focus on listening, tailoring and following through, as Dean touched upon earlier. Get to know your people, as we've talked about. And finally, as you all know, it's all about relationships. So just really get to know your people and enjoy it. Be authentic and be honest, because people don't like, and I can't say it, anyway, people just don't like it. If you're not, you have to be authentic. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And I think that's it from me. Thank you for listening. The end.
So in less than half an hour, we've covered quite a lot, and it's very difficult to cover these two subject areas in the sort of detail that we'd like to, and that would be useful and beneficial for you. And I think we'd like to encourage you, if we can help in any way, for us to have a conversation beyond today about the networking or the stewardship. I think networking, I see generally, is the kind of beginning of our journey in terms of engagement. And I think stewardship is about the retention and longer term strategy for keeping those donors and those supporters engaged for the medium and long term, and recognizing that your journey with that donor might start with that small interaction at a networking event and could end with quite a major donation, but maybe not for another 20 years. We should never see that these relationships only exist for the time that perhaps we're with an organization, or we'd hope that we're always passing the baton on wherever we do, wherever we go, and whatever we do, and not just passing it on to the person that takes on our role next, but also passing it on to our colleagues who might be in the grants team, for example, and providing impact reports, that we're all part of the mix in terms of both the networking and the stewardship. It's far more likely that you're going to get those sizable donations from people who have already been working with you than as a one-off gift from the first person that you've spoken to, or the person you've only known for a month. It's much more likely that you're going to get the ongoing long-term support, whether it comes in smaller amounts or more sizable amounts. They're more likely to come as a result of investment in that relationship, both at the beginning, in the middle, and right towards the end. And don't forget, as part of their journey, all of you, I imagine, will have the opportunity for your supporters to leave a gift in will or a legacy gift. And so we really are looking at an entire lifetime's journey between the organisation and the organisation's supporters. And just from my own experience, talking again, Jake, just about in your relating back to the corporate side of things, is that we all know that people make judgments of us very quickly, usually within the first 8 seconds of an interaction, and that will determine whether or not they're going to want to speak to you again for the next hour, or whether they'll ever want to donate or anything like that. So those first impressions are really important. And I think generally, and Katie's very good at this, you'll get a sense about Katie quite quickly that she's an authentic individual, and people buy into authenticity, and they feel at ease with authenticity, whereas anything beyond that can make people feel uneasy. So bring yourself into the room. Don't leave that part of you behind, because I think that's the bit that people will really buy into. I know from the people that they will, Jenny. I know that. No, it's all right. I know that looking around the room, that all of you have that quality. That's why I think a lot of us do the job that we do as well. So hopefully, I know it's such a small amount of time to kind of cover 2 big areas. Hopefully, some of that's been interesting. What I'm interested in now, for as long as the time you've got to spare, just let's have a conversation and ask some questions and share some of your own useful tips and tricks in terms of the things that you think work well, both from a networking and a stewardship perspective, because I'm as eager to learn from you as perhaps you are to learn from me.